While America is not structured like North Greenland, it is subject to the short-term interest of logging companies, paper mills, and home builders. It is in these companies' economic interest to use cost-effective materials. Wood is readily available, easy to work with, and comparatively inexpensive. While plantation forestry enables the nation as a whole to have access to wood and offers several compensating advantages compared to cutting naturally sown forests, many of our cities by themselves don't have the access to the necessary land amounts to conduct silviculture at the required scale to be locally self-sufficient. An additional factor contributing to our cities' increased risk of decline is their shared identity with the rest of the U.S. The cultural values, attitudes, buying habits of the nation are quite similar no matter where in the U.S. you go. From the Vikings, we learned that shared identity enabled a few thousand Greenlanders to cooperate with each other, withstand hardships, and maintain their existence in a harsh environment for 4 centuries. But it also prevented them from learning from the Inuit and from modifying their identity in ways that might have permitted them to survive beyond 4 centuries. Our city's cultural sameness to the rest of the nation is beneficial in the short term. It ensures cooperation between different towns for the purposes of trade and access to political process of the United States. It also suggests that our communities are likely to mirror the mistakes of the nation at large and may not modify their identity in a manner necessary to stave off decline. What differentiates some U.S. communities from others is the strength and vitality of their local government. While for the most part of the U.S. relies on a top-down approach suited to large society with a centralized political organization, some cities take proactive measures on a local scale to address environmental concerns. Environmental awareness is a hot topic in many parts of the United States, with entire programs of some universities dedicated to environmental research. It should also be understood that bottom-up and top-down approach can coexist within a large society that is organized as a pyramidal hierarchy of units. For example, in the United States and other democracies, we have bottom-up management by local neighborhood and citizens groups coexisting with top-down management by many levels of government, cities, counties, states, and the federal government. The same cannot be said about social inequality, which exists everywhere you look in our nation. Aside from the thousands, if not millions, of homeless individuals, many people in the U.S. In some U.S. cities are struggling due to the high cost of living. The presence of universities in some Midwestern communities drives property values up, increasing rent and housing costs. The cost of living in big cities is extraordinarily high. Non-college educated service workers on minimum wage salaries have a very difficult time making ends meet within the city limits, which is why many choose to live in lower quality external neighborhoods. Wealthy individuals from out of town or from different countries come to retire in successful towns or send their children to school there. This creates tension and resentment with locals. We observe a parallel in Rwanda. Kanama farm society was becoming increasingly divided between the rich haves and the poor have-nots, with decreasing numbers of people in the middle. In Montana, such economic realities create antagonism between old-time residents and the new arrivals from out of state, especially the rich out-of-staters who maintain a second or even third home in Montana. Some of our cities are taking steps to address environmental and social problems, but it may not be enough. Their shared identity with everyone else in the United States may delay needed action and result in an eventual decline. Our communities must carve their own unique identity and take matters into their own hands. Because we are the cause of our environmental problems and we are the ones in control of them, and we can choose or not choose to stop causing them and start solving them. Individual and local action must be mindful of history, as even prior experience is not a guarantee that society will anticipate a problem if the experience happened so long ago as to have been forgotten. The stories of the Pueblo Indians, the Norse, Rwanda, Montana, and other societies must be remembered as our cities and towns strive to solve their environmental, economic, and social challenges. Mistakes of the past must be avoided lest they're repeated. History has demonstrated the effects of inaction, as severe problems of overpopulation, environmental impact, and climate change cannot persist indefinitely. Sooner or later, they're likely to resolve themselves, whether in a manner of our choosing or in a manner of Rwanda or some other manner not of our devising, if we don't succeed in solving them by our own actions. So I want to get your opinion on this, folks. Tell me what you think. Are we headed in the right direction? Is there hope for the United States? And what can we as citizens and members of our community and as individuals, what can we do to improve the situation throughout our nation? And not just in our nation, but from the bottom up level, from a grassroots movement, from a local perspective. For example, do you think volunteering or starting citizens action movements, would those things help? Or for example, starting new businesses or higher education or more education? What can we do on an individual level? We can't sit and wait for the federal government or state government to come up with a plan. That's clearly, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. So tell me down in the comments, what do you think, or what are you doing? What have you observed other people doing um, to pave the way forward towards a better and brighter future for our nation? I appreciate hearing your ideas, comments, and questions very much. So do let me know. Thanks for watching, folks. This is the last part of this series, and I'll see you next time on our Ecology Designs production.